Music, dance, theater. It's time to take a seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez. Hear from performers, producers, presenters, and creators who enrich our lives in the performing arts. Who's on stage? Here is Tom Alvarez to introduce you.
Hello, and welcome to On the Aisle with yours truly, Tom Alvarez. My guest on today's episode is Dan Redfeld. He's a prolific conductor, orchestrator, and pianist. Join me now as I go on the aisle in a conversation with Dan. Welcome to my podcast, Dan. What a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we're on a Zoom call for our listeners so they know, and I'm looking at you sitting in your music room. Is that correct?
Yes, it's my choir room, actually.
The
where
choir
I
room.
choir room. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. What are those across the back wall?
That's all the music library. The music
Oh
library
my
is rather
goodness.
extensive in here. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. And
Normally, I would be in my studio, which you'd be probably freaking out all the amounts of music and scores and stuff on top of the piano. But
no, I would love that. I love the ambiance that
yeah,
musician. I usually, when I interview musicians, I love seeing the rooms where their pianos are and their
yeah,
stacks of music
yeah,
and charts and whatever. So where
yeah.
are you calling from?
Los Angeles.
Okay, so you are LA.
Yeah.
Your bio, I mean, my gosh, you are so prolific.
Oh, thank you.
Would it be an understatement to say that that your passion is music?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Has been since I was a little kid. So
Yeah, okay, so tell me about when did it start? You said when you were a kid. How old were
yeah, I
you?
was about
How did
four or
how did you
five.
just how did you discover that you had a passion for music? Take me
My
back.
mom was a school teacher, but had studied as a pianist, concert pianist. So she'd play, and she played Beethoven, Rachmaninoff. I think who else really got me? Debussy got me, Ravel got me, and it would mesmerize me. And I just by the time I was five, I was gravitating, screwing around the piano. So I started taking lessons, and then by about six, I started writing, composing little things
How old were
and
you?
about six, and then you
Oh,
know it just I practiced. It was hard because as a kid you don't want to practice, you want to be screwing around and stuff, and I was really I wanted to start playing immediately the music that I was listening to, which was a lot of it tended to be film music. I was very drawn to film music at a very early age. I mean, the first things I remember hearing were John Barry's Born Free score, which I loved, and then the love affair with John Williams began with Towering Inferno and Poseidon Adventure. I was probably about
oh,
three and a half, four when those came out, and I remember those scores very much. I had them on vinyl, and then of course 1975 rolls around, you get Jaws. that was
wow. And so
that was
while
the other, and
everyone,
then the other joke I make is then 1976 rolls around, and then I hear The Omen, Jerry Goldsmith, and that's when the Jerry Goldsmith love affair began.
wow. So
And I
while
could
other
not get
little,
enough of their music, of
well,
those guys' music.
while other little kids were putting on
Yeah,
shows in their backyard, you were
yeah,
recording you were doing
yeah,
compositions.
yeah. And it's interesting because I was never, I never thought about doing it as a career, and so I wasn't a great practicer at the beginning of my career, and then we changed teachers, and was a teacher who really developed a lot of kids into becoming concert pianists. And I was probably about 9, 10 when I started with her, and that's when I really began to focus. I was literally practicing 4 or 5 hours a day. I mean, I was competing as a concert pianist.
Hmm.
So I mean, I did concerti, I did all of that stuff. And the funny thing, I never thought I'd actually end up going into music. I ended up. If you ever seen the movie The Fablemans, that's what I did. I made movies on the weekends.
Don't be
Super
done.
8 films, and I made movies. I directed movies with all my friends and did war movies and all that kind of stuff. And when I saw that film, it was really surreal for me because I'm like, this was so much of this was my childhood, and I wanted to be a filmmaker. And then the thing I really enjoyed the most in the process was actually the post production part of making a film, putting it together, editing, and then putting music to it, whether it be my music or taking existing film music and somehow morphing that and watching how music and visual work together.
What
And
was
then
your And what was your hardware and software at that
I
period?
was an editing, like the little editing thing, like he had the movie, the little tank, because it was, it was a 16 millimeter and 8 millimeter. So that's how I was
Really?
doing. Yeah. So I
And
learned how to do that.
you
And then,
you you cut and splice the
oh
old
yeah,
fashioned
yeah,
way?
the tape and the cutting your fingers with the razor
And
blade. And
then you tape recorded stuff and you added the
yeah,
sound.
yeah, you'd add the soundtrack to
Wow.
it that way. And then videotape had become very new. That was brand new in the 80s. So I had a video camera eventually, and then had the editing machines for that and stuff. And all through that process, I was doing music and practicing and all that, and it was just it came so easily. I never thought I'd go into a career for it. And what got me into musical theater really heavily was Sweeney Todd. I remember hearing that at about 9 or 10. And I remember the hair on my neck going up with that. And that started that love affair with Stephen Sondheim. And then the love affair with Cats and Phantom with Andrew Lloyd Webber, and then the British Invasion really had a massive influence on me
And
musically.
and this is a good segue to why
Yeah,
you and I are talking in the first
yeah,
place,
hmm
because you're working on a project that is going to be opening soon on the West End in London, and that would be
yes.
Joe, an American musical. Is that
The Little
correct?
Women musical,
The Little
Joe
Women
the Women
musical.
musical. It's based on Little Women.
Okay,
Yeah.
so tell me about it.
So it's the Little Women story. The story we all know,
Of
Louisa May
course.
Alcott's novel, but it's kind of told a slightly different way. I mean, we make the joke that it's more like the fan fiction version of it. We hit all the beats in the novel, the big broad strokes, but then fill in stuff. It's kind of our own kind of views on things and the way we develop the characters and you know this stuff. The score is incredibly cinematic, so that's one of the things I wanted to try to do is to bridge the two worlds together somewhat. They don't really come together, just like classical music and pop music or film music. They're now finally starting to come together, but it's these worlds all stay very separated from one another. Um, so that's kind of what we're hoping to do is to actually bridge those worlds together.
Now, you have a history with this, didn't you? Did you write this project? Like, I was looking at your bio. When did you do it last? When did you?
So we actually wrote this in. We began work on it in the 90s, and actually
That's
did
right.
workshops in Los Angeles and for about 6 weeks in LA. Then went to New York in 2000, 2001, and we're workshopping there. And Elaine Stritch was our Aunt March. Debbie Gibson, if you remember Deborah Gibson,
Sure.
was our
Yeah.
Joe. And the show was looking like it was going to get picked up and mounted, and then 9/11 occurred and scared all the funding
So,
out of it.
so Elaine played Joe? Was she
No,
Joe?
no, Elaine Stritch was our Aunt March.
Oh, okay, Aunt
Yeah,
Marge. Okay,
yeah. So
well,
there are
yeah,
things in
yeah,
the
yeah,
score
yeah.
to this day that she made recommendations that are in the show today. So in
Oh,
2019, we put it in a drawer and went off and wrote other things, and we're doing other work. And in 2019, somebody in that cast was teaching at a school up in Maine and wanted to know if he could do it. And we were like, oh my God, we hadn't reached the orchestration stage, any of that stuff, and we couldn't even open files up. That's how long it had been. So we were able to open stuff, figure things out, got them the materials. They did it. John, one of the lyricists, went up to see it and said, audience loved it. It still connects. And Christina and I are based here in Los Angeles. It was when FaceTime was brand new, interface with the kids, and the kids just loved the music and stuff. So I was like, well, maybe this is something at some point where we can actually sit down and actually kind of figure out,
hmm.
reworking it and kind of figure out what to do with it. I was like, maybe we have some time. And then 3 months later, the world shut down, and we had plenty of time.
Wow, wow. So that's what you did during COVID,
Yeah, so we took
the
what we thought was
pandemic.
going to be essentially a very simple editing process, became a rather large, let's pull the show apart meeting on Zoom, 3, 4 nights a week for 4 or 5 hours. And, there was nothing else to do. Ripping the show apart and reworking it, new material went in, things got cut, things changed. And then out of that, about a year and a half later, we did during COVID a big industry workshop in Los Angeles. Had the COVID tests. It was crazy with like 26 actors. Read it down and was like, wow, it still really works. It really resonates with people. And then the next step was I was really pushing, saying I think we need to do demos of like at least two or three of the songs with orchestra. People need to hear what's in my head, you know. So I had begun work orchestrating the score, and we did the three demos, and that kind of changed everything. That's when the floodgates kind of opened, and we're here now because of that essentially. And then last year we actually recorded the entire show in London at Abbey Road last January. The album is out. The album came out in May. It's almost complete. We left about 15 minutes off the show, and you can go listen to it anywhere. It's everywhere. It's on every on every streaming platform.
Well, I was going to ask you at the end of this recording if I was going to be able to include some tracks. So I guess that question's been answered, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The cast is phenomenal. Laura Benanti, Julian Ovenden, Christine Aliato is Joe. Bob Gunton, who if people are fans of Bob Gunton, was the original Perone in Evita, but was also you all know him as the warden in Shawshank. He plays grandfather on it. So we recorded the orchestra in London. We recorded everything. We recorded the whole show, and then made the decisions. You know, myself and Nigel Wright produced the album, made the decisions what we were going to leave off, and left only about 15 minutes of the show off. So the album is about 2 hours and 15 minutes. So it's
well, you know,
big
another
listen.
one, the other person who brought you to my attention was Brian Purcell.
Yeah.
And I had interviewed a friend of his, and he heard the podcast, I believe, and which led him to contact me and say, "Would you be interested in hearing about Joe?" And I said,
Ah,
"Absolutely." I'm
that's great.
a huge fan of the book and the various TV, film. I don't know how many
So many
adaptations are out there,
adaptations of
but
it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's a timeless story. It never gets old, you know?
Yeah. No, it
So
doesn't.
I
Well, that's funny that you know Brian.
can't wait to hear the score. So,
Yeah, it's beautiful, and it's a very big throwback kind of a score. So it's a 20, and on
mhm,
the recording, it's a 29-piece orchestra.
mhm.
The pit calls for 26. So it's a
So
real throwback, old-fashioned score.
what can you tell me about this London production? What would you call that in the parlance of the business? Is it a workshop or what do you
No,
call
it's a staged, it's a semi-staged concert version, and you will hear the whole show. Most of the album cast is transferring over. Uh, it's a 26-piece orchestra on stage, which I'll be conducting. Full chorus again, like we did on the recording. A lot of the same chorus, a lot of the same orchestra, ironically, which was really really cool to get to work with a lot of them again. They were fantastic to record with. And
So is this a one night only?
So one night only, January 25th at the Theatre Royal. I can never say it. Theatre Royal Drury Lane. It's a tongue twister,
Mhm.
you know, where Hercules is playing right now. So I
On
was
the
just in
famed
London and saw it. Yeah,
In the famed West End, on the famed West
yeah.
End. So
And it's
tell
where
me,
My Fair Lady premiered. It did its British premiere was at this theater, so I'm
you know,
super excited about
I
that.
saw that in your credits that you
Yeah,
like, well, folks should know that you've done like 40 Broadway musicals in your
yeah. I've
career.
conducted a lot of shows regionally, and then obviously, and at the Music Center here in town, the Amundsen, which is the Center Theater Group.
Yeah.
Um, have worked quite a lot. I conduct a lot of shows. Yeah, it's funny. I fell into that out of college, just doing musicals, and just loved doing shows. There's just so much fun to work on, and it's a great education for a composer. I always recommend if you can actually somehow music direct or be involved in shows. It's great
Mhm.
because it shows you where all the great musicals, with the exception of maybe one or two, all have pitfalls, all have problems. Every great show has plotting problems. It fascinates me doing them and going, wow, I've never been aware of it. It's not until you really have your hands in the material that you go, oh, that really doesn't actually quite work, but they got away with it. And you see
So
that, and it's
I think,
fascinating.
well, I think it's self-explanatory. Where do you all, the producers, everybody involved with the show, hope this show goes next? Well, what's
The next step after this will be to go to the West End in full production with the show.
okay?
Yeah.
Any
And
idea
then
when that's going to happen?
hopefully, we're looking at probably about a year. I'm guessing it'll be about a year, year and a half, because of the money and the having to create the design team and what we envision in the show. The three writers. again, we want it to feel like almost like a movie on stage in terms of the way it moves. It feels, when you listen to the album, you'll know what I mean. It moves like a film. It's very cinematic. It's designed cinematically in terms of the thematic material. So you have leitmotifs for characters like a
Yeah.
typical film score would do.
Tell me about the storytelling, the lyricist. Who's the lyricist? Who
So the
works
two lyricists are Christina Harding and John Kaloje,
with?
who wrote the book and lyrics. We kind of wrote the book together, the three of us, and then they did all the lyric writing. Um, and the kind of style of writing, I mean, we're heavily influenced by Sondheim, without a doubt. Their writing, everything is a real true rhyme. Everything has, as one of the reviews pointed out, we were really happy when the album came out. One of the reviewers really picked up on it. Not only is there musical thematic ideas that keep coming back, but their lyrics in terms of like actual things that come back throughout the story. And I was really happy that
So
resonated with the
does it
person.
stand alone that if someone didn't know anything about the story, they could hear the lyrics of each song and
Yeah.
follow the story, right?
Yeah, that was one of the things I think was really cool. A couple of friends I gave it to just was we were in, mixing. I let a couple of friends of mine hear it. One of them, he doesn't know the story. And he's like, "Oh my God, I was able to follow." He sat with his kids and listened to it. He's like, "Oh yeah." I said, "Do you have any problems?" He's like, "No, I completely got all of it. It was amazing." And I'm
Well,
like,
that's
"Okay, good."
that's
That was a good resounding thing to throw out there and get
mhm.
that feedback back. Because I was like, "Well, should we leave this off?" Because at that point we were kind of juggling, going, "What do we want to leave some material off the show?"
Let me ask you this as a composer, I bet you had a real well-rounded education. I bet
Yeah,
you really paid attention you took art history and you love
yeah,
history. And
yeah. Big history buff.
so
Avid, voracious reader, I would say.
yeah.
Yeah,
Obviously when you're a composer worth, you make it your business to have a general knowledge of what your material is. So did you
yeah.
do a lot of research of the
Yeah,
period?
we did a lot of research. We looked at the music. Obviously, the book. I mean, the novel originally was obviously our Bible. We went out to Orchard House, saw Orchard House, saw Concord. I mean, I went to school in Boston, so we saw Concord, which is 20 minutes from Boston, um, and then did a lot of research just looking through stuff of the time period. I mean, it was just, the beauty now is that back then we'd have to go to a library. Now it's amazing. When we were like, for example, one of the numbers that changed heavily is the top of Act Two. We were on a call and we're researching, well, what was Publishers Row? What did it look like in New York City? And
So,
what
so,
happened there? And it's
so
great because
for
now you have it at your fingertips.
so if there were any listener who'd never read the book, never picked it up, just in a nutshell, tell me what that story is for them. Just give me a little short little synopsis.
I think the thing for me that I would say that hopefully you get out of it. I mean, obviously the story itself is the story of the four girls in Concord, four sisters, the March sisters during the Civil War, and what they, as they grow up, and what you watch, what happens to each of them. Joe is the main character, is the aspiring writer, and eventually writes the novel of Little Women, and that's the story of the girls and what each of the girls goes through. For us, the thing that we hope that people get out of it is that this the spin that we've put on it is a strong feminist spin, and a spin that essentially everybody has a story to tell or something that they do, whether it be artistic or whatever that is if
Mhm.
you want to communicate that to people, you need to be true to yourself, and everybody has something interesting, unique, and interesting something to say, interesting view of the world
As,
or whatever they do.
as far as the music, what were some of your like musical references? The composers of the day, certain pieces of the period?
No, no. I mean, the stuff that really influenced it. I mean, I make jokes, when we've done interviews and we did like a couple of webinars where we've actually broken the score apart. It's a wide variety of stuff. Obviously, the film music aspects are in there, so I always name off the four film composers who are definitely all over the score: John Williams, Jerry Goldsmith, James Horner, John Barry. Those guys definitely are there. Sondheim, Andrew Lloyd Webber, the Les Mis guys, Babu Schoenberg,
Sure.
and Alan Menken. Definitely a lot of that in the score. A lot of Richard Rodgers in the score, I would say. Um, but then there's the references of classical music, in terms of the stuff that I am steeped in. So, like for example, the end of the Pickwick number, everybody is always like, "Oh, it's so Stephen Sondheim." I'm like, "No, it's actually not Stephen Sondheim. It's a piece by Ravel called Alvarado de Grazioso." And I said, and Sondheim was stealing from Ravel as well, so we were stealing from the same well. But that was that inspiration.
Well,
Puccini, I'd
it's
say,
funny that you said that because I know Sondheim has a singularity about him, and yet, come on, I mean, there's a lot of derivatives in his music too. I mean,
Well, he
someone like,
talks about it in interviews. Yeah,
yeah,
he actually, there's a really good interview. If your listeners want to find it, you can find it on YouTube. It's about 8 hours where the Library of Congress interviews him and they look at his scores and he talks about, oh, that's a Ravel chord. Oh, that's Rachmaninoff. And I'm going, oh, I'm stealing from the same people. It's
uh-huh.
the pianists that, you look at. So there's a lot of classical references. I mean, for example, one of the things I've talked about is the first number in the show, the Pickwick Portfolio, which is modeled after the beginnings of many of Sondheim's shows, which as he said, he had long beginnings in his shows because it sets up the evening and the stakes. It's modeled after Sondheim, but I threw it into what it's a classical form called a rondo, which is
Hmm.
often what ends a concerto,
Hmm.
you know, and it follows a rondo form very, very closely. And, I like to box myself in using forms like that. There's other things throughout the score like that are
Yeah.
classical forms and things like that too.
Y- y-
I think it works really well. And one of the other goofy things I did, for example, is there's a key structure to the show. So the show starts in a certain key, Act One ends in a key, Act Two starts in that same key. So there's through line, and by the time you get around to the show, at the end of the exit music, you've come back to the key the show started in.
I notice again in reviewing your biography that you have released albums that pay
Hmm.
tribute to a bunch of composers. Tell us
Yeah,
about those.
yeah. One of the labels here in town has likes to do covers of things. So we've done. Um, Albums of like James Horner. We did a piano solo album of James Horner that I did. We did a chamber album of John Williams stuff, recording John's arrangements that are available that you can actually purchase and play. And then I did some pieces in the style of what he would have done with violin. I think one of them was we had trumpet and piano. Actually, those two arrangements, particularly the JFK arrangement, I did gets played a lot by people. Brass players call me all the time looking for that arrangement. It's trumpet and
Hmm.
piano.
Hmm.
Um, Another one we did was a Titanic album where we took all the Titanic music and did it with more of a chamber size orchestra. So the stuff from the James Cameron film, but then all the various Titanic films that have been done over the years. And that was a really interesting project, including Morieston's Titanic score, which we did a couple of numbers from that. So that was that was a fun album. We spent several months in the studio working on that. So yeah.
Okay, and so you have also you're also a conductor,
Hmm.
and of all these things that you pursue, all of these various roles that you're in, do you have a favorite? Composing, arranging, conducting?
The thing about composing, I talk about this a lot. The thing with composing, I'm a very or not introvert. I'm a very extroverted type A personality. I chose a career where I sit in a room alone at a piano and I still write with pen, paper and pencil. I still like to do it that way. Then go to the computer and work in Finale. Although I have to now work in a new program now that Finale is now gone. Um, to actually do the set up the score and get it digitally set up so we can all work with it. My team can work with it from there. So I picked a job where I sit alone in a room for hours. It's kind of an odd thing to do.
So do
So
you literally have like a legal pad and you jot stuff down?
yeah, no score paper.
A score paper. Oh
Score
yeah.
paper. We call it sketch pads. So we have
Yeah, of
sketch pads. I use
course.
the same sketch pads. The same company that prints up John Williams. I use the same pad John Williams used. It's an 8 line sketch, and that's how I work.
Okay, well, I've got
Um,
to ask this. You get this asked a lot, but I've got to ask anyway. So tell me about your process. What inspires you? And like, do you hear bits of things like in nature, conversations? It's
yeah,
working. Yeah.
it's interesting. It's an interesting thing. We talk so heavily about what the songs are going to be, what they're going to function like, how they're going to move the story forward as we're working through the libretto. Then I go off and kind of craft at the beginning of it all. I start to craft themes for each character. And then when we start to work on the songs, Joe's theme is this, it's going to become this song, et cetera, et cetera. You sit, you do a lot of, I make jokes, I do a lot of napping, do a lot of PlayStation. do a lot of PlayStation because that solves writer's block for me. I don't know why. Go
Do you
play for an
ever do
hour.
you ever compose in your sleep, in your dreams?
It's happened a few times. So one of my favorite songs in the show is called the song in Act Two called "A Friend Like You." It's where Joe meets Dr. Bear for the first time. That song came out of a dream. I woke up in the middle of the night and went to the piano and had it, and it was like, wow, this is really wild. That doesn't happen very often.
You
You know,
literally went out to your piano and
yeah,
and
yeah,
wrote it down.
and that doesn't happen often. Those are rare when that happens. But the one, most of the time, it's just sitting and really thinking and drafting. It's like almost like I make jokes. It's like you're sculpting. It's what it feels like to find the right melodic pattern and how the notes are going to be put together. And just you sculpt that until you get it right. And then the process is to begin really writing it down. And as I write, I'm odd. I don't do a piano score. I actually do a short score, so it's somewhat orchestrated. So the orchestration is very filled out of what it's going to be. Then it goes off to John and Christina, and they write the lyrics. And sometimes I'll ask for a note, extra beat, whatever it is, and we talk through it. And I
And
always
then
make the,
and
you
then
know,
there's the often the also a lot of people who are not musicians don't understand the whole composition. But it's true that your collaboration, is it that you write from lyrics or the other way
no,
around?
I write music first. So we've
Okay.
talked in depth,
And
and then
then
they
they
do the
write the
lyrics.
lyrics to your music.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Chrissy says when she hears the music for the first time, when I send it over with the sheet music, now it's great because we can just do it in the phone now and just send it over in an instant. Back in the day, it was on cassettes. But she says as soon as they listen to it, she says the vowel sound at a certain point will land in her ear, what that vowel sound will be, and then she all of a sudden the word will come right. And she said once that word appears, the whole lyric kind of revolves around that and kind of branches
Mm.
out like a tree. I think that's really cool. But you asked, what do I like doing the most of the things? So for me, I like the composing part, but I will tell you the part that's the most fun for me is the orchestration and then getting on the stage or getting in the pit and playing it with the musicians and hearing it. Because the
Mhm.
orchestration is like the icing on the cake. I mean, that's all the color, and that's where I have the most fun.
How would you describe your relationship with musicians?
Good, very very good.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I love working with players. It's the best part of the
And
process.
why? And why?
Well, because you have all these little dots you jot down on a page, but they live there. But it's the musicians who bring everything to life. They add their own
Mm.
character, their own way of putting a phrase together. Their own humanity comes through, and that's the real magic. Is to go, wow, I heard it in my head a certain way, and while it still sounds color wise like I imagine it, wow,
Hmm.
the person's way they've interpreted a solo line, for example, like an oboe line, it's like that's so much more beautiful than I'd ever thought it would be.
Hmm.
And that person's whatever soul or
So
whatever you
you,
want to call it comes
so
through
let
that.
me understand. You're talking about, so when it goes in, when it's interpreted by a musician, they add
Yeah,
their own artistry to
yeah,
something that you had
oh
not
yeah,
occurred to you. Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. And often sometimes it's even just the color of the timbre of their instrument. It's so beautiful. One of the players on the album was our bassoon player, had such an interesting woody quality. It was a very British sound. And it was just beautiful. And I love every solo he gets on the album. It's like, God, it's a beautiful player. Beautiful player, you know. So
So you said a lot of musicians who are on the album are going to be in the pit in
yeah,
London.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. How did that happen? I mean, all that scheduling.
Well, the company that we went to is what they call them a fixer over there. The contractor is a company named Isabel Griffiths. Isabel Griffiths, she probably does probably about 95% of all the film scores in London. And I mean, I've known who they are, and we reached out. They were fantastic to work with. And like I said, when we get time for the concert, and hopefully when we move to the next step, they'll still be our fixer, and they've been great. And
Hmm.
they knew who I wanted, and they were wonderful to work with, and it just was an amazing process. And the whole orchestra wanted to come back and do it, so because everybody had such a good time playing it.
So tell me about your producers. What do you know, like
So
Brian?
Brian is one of the producers. So Brian, Christina, and John and I go back about 30 years. We all met doing youth theater. So
I'm
that's
sorry, I didn't catch that.
we all met doing youth theater.
Okay.
Yeah,
You were,
yeah. So
oh,
we're
wow.
all 30 years we've all met ago. 30 years ago, we were four at the time. I like to make the joke.
Did you ever see the film Theater Camp?
Yes, of
Did
course.
you
Yeah.
love it?
Oh, yeah. It was like that was what we. Yeah, that's how we all met. So Brian came on as our lead producer about 4 years ago, I guess. Yeah, about 4 years ago. And it's helped move this, and then we have the rest of the producing team. The other producer that works very closely with him, Rob O'Neill, came on a few months ago. Has really helped move us along, both of them, and then our other two are Emily Kerrigan and Elizabeth Hedman. They're
Yeah,
just
but
really
the
great.
show theme, I find that really charming that you grew up together.
Oh yeah.
Did you daydream about doing this? Like, oh, one day we're going to do a musical. It's going to be all
No,
about.
I mean we sat John Chrissy and I sat down because I wanted to do a musical of Little Women so badly, and they were like, "Well, let's write a musical together, like you do." And the thing that like I always make the joke is it's like we've been all so steeped in musicals at that point in our teen years that you're getting taught how to do it. It's again you get taught just by listening. I mean it's
Yeah.
you learn
So
you
was
learn by
it,
listening.
and I say this with all great affection, but so would you consider yourself like a theater nerd?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we all are. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really with the Brit, and again we were
You love
all
you love the minutiae about who the
yeah.
composers are, where
Oh God,
playing.
yeah. Who worked on this? That's what was so cool when Nigel Wright came aboard. We were all freaking out, going, "Oh my God, Nigel's Andrew Lloyd Webber's producer for how many all these albums you grew up listening to." And now Nigel's become a really good friend, and it's like been such a wonderful process working with him. But it's a really interesting process to do this. It's such a weird little world, and we were so steeped, all of us, in the British invasion was a huge influence on all of us in the
Yeah.
teens. You had all those shows, and they were so terrific. And just every time I still see Phantom, I'm amazed at what a beautiful, beautiful evening that is.
So what's
You
your
know,
take on the current spate of musicals and the content that's out there? What are your
you know,
thoughts?
I don't want to disparage anything. I'm not a big lover of the jukebox musicals. I think it's an easy out. Um, the influence of rock and roll in the musicals is great. I think it's a really interesting thing. The problems where I have is that I feel in some ways we've gone back to what musicals were like before Oklahoma, the 1930s musicals, which are collections of songs. The songs kind of can move the story forward, but the drama is not so much musically driven. And we all know what Oklahoma did, and then Carousel definitely for that
Mhm.
process. And then obviously how Sondheim perfected that process, probably better than anybody. He and Andrew Lloyd Webber probably for me are the two, where the music is the driving thing, and we're not so much into that anymore. And that's the hard part for me is
So you feel become somewhat diluted?
yeah, a little bit. I think there are shows I really do like and things I've seen that I really really love. I mean, but and I think they're still great, really smart writers. I'm a big Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty fan, and I think their stuff is just always so beautiful. I mean, Anastasia was the one Knoxville that they did a couple of years ago during COVID. That's a beautiful score, just a gorgeous score. I will tell
Mhm.
you, the show I didn't get to see it, but I really enjoyed the score this year. Is I really enjoyed the Boop score. I thought David Foster wrote out just a really lovely, lovely score. It's like had
Yeah.
tunes you couldn't get out of your head. They were like severe earworms, and it's like wow. I've listened to Death Becomes Her, which I really think has some really, really funny moments in that. So that gives me hope when I hear shows like that are so catchy and quirky, and I enjoy that aspect of it. So I
So
think there's
would
still
you
good
say,
writing.
is it safe to say that you veer towards the old-fashioned sound?
Yeah, I think I hate using the old-fashioned sound. I just think it's melodically driven, and I think
Sure.
from a structural standpoint, the music is the driving factor
Yeah.
score-wise, and the lyrics work hand in hand with that. And
What do you think about, oh, I'm just speaking generally here, but the trend in the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years, you can write a musical about anything these days. And
yeah,
it can be dark, it can be about death, it can be about horrible things. And you can make a musical. And
yeah,
so what do you think of that?
I think it's great. I mean, for me, of course, my favorite show is Sweeney Todd. So you can make a musical about
Sure.
cannibalism that's just absolutely hysterical and wrong and funny. You
Yeah.
know, I think anything can be musicalized. I think it has how you approach it and how you do it. Um, I think anything really can be. I think it's sometimes it's the creativity of that you see behind it can be really, really, really clever.
Yeah.
One of the shows that we saw that we really enjoyed while we were in London was Titanic, which was hysterical. I just was like, this is such a quirky, weird show, but it works. It's fun. It's a really fun evening, and I've seen a couple of really fun things in the last couple of years that I've really
What's
enjoyed.
on
So
Broadway right now that is really that within the last couple of years that have really resonated with you?
well, I really want to see Death Becomes Her. That's a show I haven't been out to New York to catch that yet. I'm dying to see that because I love the film and I love the sense of humor. And I've listened to the album, like, well, they retained a lot of that dark black humor, which is kind of my kind of thing. Which is odd that we picked. I really wanted to do Little Women. Trying to think what else is out there that I want to see. The one show I have not seen yet that everybody is really, really on me about is MJ. So when we're in London, I hope to see that because that's still running
Mhm.
both places, and I really want to see it. Being a big Michael Jackson fan. Trying to think of what else Boop close. So I didn't get to see that, and I'm really bummed. I know it's going on tour, and I hopefully we'll get to see that when it's on tour.
Yeah.
Um,
You like
Trying to think what.
bio musicals like Tina? You mentioned MJ. Do you like
Yeah,
those?
I think there's some great ones. I mean, for me, obviously, the great bio musical, the one that I think is just a masterpiece, is Evita. I think Evita is just
Yeah.
one of the most phenomenal
And
scores
you've
ever
done
written.
Evita. You did a production of
Yeah, I've
Evita.
done Evita, I think 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm a little older than you, but I saw Patty LuPone in Evita with what's his name?
With Mandy Patinkin and Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
I'll never forget. I mean,
Ah,
wow. Wow.
what a
So
score.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
what else? You're probably working. You're like one of those guys who's got about 6 books he's reading. You said you're a prolific reader, but
Yeah,
so
very
yeah, it's
voracious
just the same
reader.
with your projects. Do you have a whole bunch of stuff you're
I like
balancing?
to, I do a lot of orchestration, a lot of arranging, so I'm constantly always doing that. It's not my own stuff. I have other people's music, so I'm always doing something there.
Oh,
Um, for example, I just got done conducting for LA Opera. I just literally finished a week ago with that, and was also doing Blood Brothers in the evenings. Yeah, so
never
that
a
just
dull
closed.
moment. So, have you ever
Yeah,
ventured into ballet? Have you ever
no,
conducted
I have
ballet?
not. I have not conducted a ballet, and it's something I would love to do. I actually would love to write a ballet. I think
Mm.
ballet is a beautiful, beautiful art form, and I think,
Yeah.
coming from cinema, I find film music to be very balletic at times because it
Mhm.
is so about tempo.
Dan,
Yeah.
I'm also a reviewer and I cover music, theater, and dance, and I love it
Mm.
all. But the other night I saw a production of Rigoletto,
Mm, okay.
and it just Verdi's music, so
Hmm.
exquisite. And but you've done a lot of opera, have you?
Yeah, yeah. I've done a lot. I've been conducting for LA Opera for about 20 some odd years. This they call it the secondary in school opera. So we take an opera out into high schools in the inner city in LA. And it's
Mhm.
like a huge tour that we do for about 10 weeks. So I
How much
premiered
of how
a lot
much
of
of the
operas.
Italian repertoire would you say you've seen
Oh
over your?
God, I've seen so much of it. It's nuts. I'm a huge Puccini, huge late Verdi fan.
Mhm.
Um, and Puccini to me is the great dramatist along with Sondheim. Those are the two
What are
great
your favorites,
musical theory.
Puccini? What are your favorites?
Puccini, Turandot, which they did a beautiful production of Turandot here at LA Opera. It was 2 years ago, and it was funny.
Um,
My wife plays in the pit, and I couldn't get tickets through the company. I was like,
oh,
my God, this is a rarity. And my wife was like, I can't get tickets to the orchestra. They're not getting it's selling out so well. So I
so,
bought
so,
like a very
so
expensive
your
seat.
wife's a musician. Tell me about
Yeah,
her.
yeah,
What's her
yeah.
name?
So my wife, Elizabeth Hedman, she's one of our producers on the show.
Okay, all right.
And so when we were in London, she didn't actually get to play on the score. She ended up sitting up in the booth, what they call score reading, which is making sure all the right notes are being played, all
And
everything's
then
in
again,
tune.
what is her instrument?
Violin.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, it's
wow.
concert violinist, a beautiful
Okay.
violinist. We have a lot of recordings that she's actually on several of the albums I've done. The John Williams album, she's on. Um, she's often my contractor for my films and recording projects here in Los Angeles. So
How did you guys meet?
we met doing a show. We met doing Triumph of Love.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
So many years ago.
How long
We've
have you been
been
together?
we've been together 23 years.
Did you have children?
No, we have
No?
cats. No.
Okay.
We chose not to do kids because it's just so hard in this industry, and we're
And
always working. And I mean, we have
what
a
are the
crazy
names? What are the
schedule.
names of the cats, and why aren't they walking around those shelves behind you?
They're because I'm in my choir room at where I do my choir, which is not in the
Yeah,
house. It's a different place.
yeah.
Um, the cat's names are Ariatella, and she is named after Arya Stark. But when she plays, she looks like she does a tarantella. She hops. So she's named that, and the other one is named Rayabelle after Ray from Star Wars and Princess Leia in Star Wars,
Love
and
that.
she's very feisty. They're thanked on the album because they're always around.
Yeah.
They're
So
big music lovers.
why are you based in LA? I think I know why, but tell me
Because
why.
of the film and the recording industry here, that's pretty much why.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm. And what's your take on living in LA?
I'd rather live in London. Love England.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you've gotten
yeah.
used to the car culture and all that, the
It's
highway
exhausting.
culture.
It's exhausting how much time we spend in the car, and then
Well, I love that SNL skit where the character, the Californians, they talk about directions, how to get from where. That's
yeah,
pretty
yeah, yeah.
real, isn't it?
It's very real. I mean, you plan your day. We live in the valley. You plan your day to go over the hill. If I'm having lunch over on the west side, I got to plan my day around that because traffic will be at a certain time pretty bad getting
Yeah.
back over the hill.
And what do you love
Yeah.
about London or England in general?
Well, I love the people. Obviously, the arts, the musicians, and but I love that you can walk everywhere, and there's just an energy to the city that's so unique because it's so old. I mean, it's
Have
thousand
you,
plus
have you,
years.
have you spent a lot of time in London?
This year, we have spent a lot of time. We were there for a month recording, then we were back there again for the release. We were back again. I was back there about a month ago for Musical
Mhm.
Con. We were back. Oh, we were back twice for the recording. We had to come back in February again. So
Yeah.
for the concert, we're out again for several weeks. Elizabeth and I will go out ahead of time because we want to go do a little exploring this time and actually get some downtime. The jet lag's the hardest thing on me. Second and third
Yeah.
night are just bad.
I bet you London inspires you, does it not? Just
Yeah,
generally.
yeah. The energy is incredible. I love the energy of
Are
the
you an
city.
Anglophile?
Yeah, bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, bad one. Always have been.
I bet you had
Yeah.
fun with My Fair Lady.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was done up in
Hmm.
Santa Barbara, but it was an amazing cast.
Hmm.
It was Jonathan Price and Laura Michelle. They brought it out from the Music Center or from the Kennedy Center.
So
But
tell me, this is a kind of a general broad question, but what do you see as the major differences between the Broadway scene and the West End scene? And there's a lot of overlap in terms of performers and artists and all, of course,
yeah,
but more so.
no, I mean I don't know. When we're out in New York, it's I think there seems like there's a lot more development in London and a lot more ability to risk. And I think that's the thing. I think because part of it is the costs here in the States have just become astronomical. So you can really lose a lot of money. I think while it's expensive in London, the tax rebates and the incentives are pretty incredible. So
What's the
uh,
difference between audiences? Is there one?
I don't think
And
so. I think the London audience. I mean, you have well, no, probably not. I don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. I think you still have a very active theater going on in New York. I mean, the show that blew my socks off the net. We all loved it. Was Merrily We Roll Along. We saw that the one with Daniel Radcliffe, and just seeing the response audience wise. I mean, all of us were in the. Everybody was there because we love
well, I guess
Seinfeld
I
and
was
Merrily We
thinking
Roll.
that, that's where Shakespeare's from. So, maybe
Yeah,
the audiences are a bit more educated and sophisticated, but not
yeah.
necessarily. So,
Necessarily. I mean, I think they're probably pretty equal. I think.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but okay. So, bottom line, do you aspire for Joe to end up in Broadway on Broadway?
I would love to see it there at some point. Yeah, I mean, I know it's going to take time to get there. It's a big show, so it's going to have to, I think, make it prove itself in the West End, and then hopefully across the tour of Europe or in Asia, and I think
And
eventually rolls back up.
would that be a career aspiration of yours to have one of your shows on Broadway?
Yeah, I would love that. I mean, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't
Sure.
love that?
Do you
Yeah.
ever visualize yourself and 40 people up on a stage getting that Tony Award?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm funny about awards. I think awards are cool. That would be probably really fun. I don't think I do this for awards. I would hope most people don't.
Yeah,
I think at the end of the day, in a year, nobody remembers what won. It's like the
yeah,
Oscars. I mean, there's certain things you will remember that won, but there's a reason they won.
yeah.
I spent with Lou.
But I'm sure there are Tony nerds out there though who
Oh, I'm
know.
sure there are. I'm sure there are.
Like baseball averages, they know.
Yeah, I mean, I always make the joke with the Oscars. It's like,
Statistics.
how do you pick the best score in the Oscars? When I
Exactly.
remember growing up, you'd have a year where you'd have John Williams, Jerry Goldsmith, Elmer Bernstein, James Horner, and Maurice Jarreau. I'm like, how the hell do you pick out of that? I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
So is
so
there in LA, I meant to ask, is there I understand that there is a pretty developed it's grown like a theater scene, is that correct?
oh yeah, there definitely is. There's a good regional
Hmm.
theater scene out here, and then obviously you have so much development with Center Theater Group, um, which is the big at the Ahmanson at the Music Center and where the opera is and everything. They develop a lot of projects and pre-Broadway things, and there's a lot of stuff happening.
You feel that your theater background gave you a leg up in terms of as far as creativity and you chose to venture into film and all. Do you think having it?
No, I think what I try to tell people that are, because there's these programs that are designed only for film scoring, only for musical theater. I'm like, as writers, I'm like, I'm a big believer. Go get a good, solid classical. If you want to be a composer, get a solid classical music education. You need to know the repertoire because everybody that writes well for musical theater or film or even the symphonic, we're all dipping into that well, and I believe very strongly in that. Then do a graduate program if you really feel the need to. But I think if you have that solid background in the classical rep, you're gonna know where to draw from. Where all these other guys have done it for
Mhm.
80 years.
Do you do any
So
teaching or mentoring?
no, I have.
No?
I'd love to have somebody I'd mentor. I think that'd be a really cool process. But no, I never have.
Yeah.
I
Do
never
you
have
have any?
time.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
but I
always
was
looking
good.
forward to the next thing that comes across the desk.
But do you have any opportunity? Do you enjoy working with the emerging artists or young artists? Do you have
I love it.
interns? Do you
Yeah,
have
I no, I actually love working with kids. I do a lot of music direction. There's one particular school here in town where I music direct their spring shows. It's a school called Chaminade. It's all industry, a lot of industry kids, all theater kids,
Oh, how cool.
and that's where I just did Blood Brothers with, and they are phenomenal. I get to hire a professional orchestra, it's a professional choreographer. Our director was Susan Egan's replacement on Broadway with Beauty and the Beast. And we actually, ironically, I conducted Beauty and the Beast with this director directing Susan Egan in the part of Belle. So it was really kind of a interesting process. But yeah, so I work with that group of kids, and they're really wonderful. And I think those are like my kids. I have a real attachment to all of them, and it's cool giving them the tools. Many of them actually are, for example, our Amy on Joe is one of those kids, and she's been with the show for 4 years, and will go forward with
Are
the
you in
show.
a position to open doors for young people? I mean, do you like giving breaks to people, or are you ever in a
Yeah,
position?
I'm really open to that kind of thing. I try to do that. We've had like interns around the process of watching us work and in the studio, and I'm always really open to that. I think it's a good thing. I look at the guys that mentored me. My mentors were Larry Blank and Erwin Costel, who kind of
Yeah.
took me under their wing. And then John Williams was also very, very kind to me while I was in Boston because he and my teacher were really good friends. So I got to watch John work a lot and ask questions and stuff. And yeah, I think though Irv and Larry really took me under their wings and taught me
Okay,
a lot.
so, for our listeners, for this purpose, originally you came on to talk about Joe, but really want to delve into your work, your career. Again, I look at the body of work that you've done. It's so extensive. It's just in so many areas. It really is intriguing. All of the again, it just reflects a passion that's just
Yeah.
really stunning, actually. So, but I want to know what are so people can experience this by finding the CD online.
Yeah, the recording is everywhere. It's Spotify, Amazon. It was thrown out. It was distributed on Center Stage Records, so it's out
Hmm.
there. It came out in May. We're
Hmm.
doing a vinyl pressing for the concert, so we're actually about to listen to the test print for the vinyl. The vinyl is more of a highlights, and it's been reconfigured, and it will be
Yeah.
numbered. It'll be numbered. It's a limited edition vinyl, so that's going to be cool.
And
That
for
will come
those
out
people who want to jump on a plane and come out to
and
see the
go
concert,
over.
are there
You can go
tickets
buy
available?
tickets. Yes, you can buy the tickets. You can either go to the Lloyd Webber Theater Group. Um, you can find them pretty easily, or go to the Joe website. There's a huge link page on that, which is the Joe website is Joe the Musical, jothemusical.com.
Yeah. And
It's a very active website. Or follow us on Instagram at Joe the Musical or Facebook. There's just constant social media stuff happening.
again, when is that date?
It's January 25th, 7 p.m. It's a Sunday night at Theatre Royal Drury Lane.
Well, who knows? I manifest for you that it's going to be a hit. It's going to end up in Broadway. You're going to end
Thank
up doing
you.
the movie. Wouldn't you love to
Yes.
do the movie someday?
Yes, actually, it's just a little piece of wild information that just so people know. We actually, as an exercise, 2 or 3 years ago, we actually wrote the film script for it
Really?
and spent about
Why am
four
I not
months.
surprised?
And it's while it is the same show, it's very different. It was a really cool experience to open the world up in a very interesting way. It's the same show, but very different in
Okay,
terms of how it tells the
where'd
story.
you shoot it?
We didn't shoot it. We just wrote a script. We wrote the script and
Oh, okay.
registered. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it
I
was
was
just as
thinking.
just as an exercise for the three of
Yeah,
us, and
yeah,
it's there.
yeah. But would you locate it? Would you shoot in Massachusetts if you could?
Oh, that'd be great. It'd be great to shoot at
Yeah,
the actual house because I believe Greta Gerwig's film shot at the school that's in the back of the house,
really.
the
You wouldn't do it
Bronson.
on the back lot
Uh,
in LA, in
no,
Hollywood.
it'd be cool to go someplace to do. It's like this. The '94 film is my favorite version of the movie, and that's I believe that was shot up in Canada, but it's like in Vancouver or something. But it's like God, it's so beautiful, the
Yeah.
setting.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was gonna say, like, you end up you'll probably for costs have to end up shooting in Toronto,
yeah,
which isn't a
exactly.
bad
Which
thing.
is not a bad thing at all.
Well, listen, it's really been a delight getting to know you, and
Thank you.
I look forward to following your career and seeing what
Yeah,
what you produce, put out
yeah.
there in the
Thank
world.
you
So
very, very, very much, and
I
hopefully
deeply
you get up to
appreciate
see
you
it.
giving me this time. And if you're, someone in India is going to hear this, and who knows, maybe I might see you in an orchestra pit around here.
Yeah, that'd be really
You know,
cool. Well, please,
Michael
yeah,
Feinstein is the artistic director of the local Performing Arts Center in
yes,
Cornwall.
yes. He's
You
a
were
good friend,
aware of that,
actually.
right?
Yeah,
And
he's
did
a
you
very good friend
know?
of ours.
And did you know that that his foundation, the
Yes,
Songbook Fund, they're building a Hall of Fame here?
yes, I know about that. I know, his catalog is actually out there because I mean the guy has got Michael has got the most extensive catalog. We were over at his house a few months ago, and he took us down to the basement. I was just like, "Oh my God, the amount of music he has collected in terms of preserving stuff." And most of that is housed, I believe, in Indianapolis or Indiana, someplace in a
Yes, he has
warehouse.
a warehouse filled with
Yes.
stuff. He's got people's pianos.
Oh yeah, no, it's crazy.
Got
And
a
I mean,
couple Oscars. He's got
he's got
dresses.
charts like you cannot believe that he has preserved. Yeah, he was showing us Nelson Riddle's charts, and when we were over there, it was really cool, showing us how Nelson Riddle, like the sheet music he would buy, figure out the key, and in and out of the notes, working with Sinatra on the song, where to go
Yeah.
back, what key it's going to be transposed, and that's what he would work off of to create the
You know,
arrangements
I
that he wanted.
always thank him for helping me with my career as a journalist because I don't have to go to New York or LA because he brings all these big, huge names to
He
Indianapolis
is
Performing Arts
Michael is
Center.
a not only a wonderful human being and a class act, but his passion for preservation and what he does is and then on top of it, there's the piano playing and the singing and the artistry he does with that. It's like he's a Michael's a brilliant man. He's one of the nicest people in the world.
Yeah, yes,
A real sweetheart.
I can confirm that, and I take it you know his husband Terrence as well.
Yes, 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 yeah, yeah. They're
Yeah,
wonderful. Yeah,
yeah.
he is a class act all the way around.
Well, Daniel, maybe you'll get out here once the Hall of
That'd
Fame
be fun.
opens.
That would be really fun.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll make sure that he hears this show so he can hear all those
Yeah.
wonderful things you said about him. So, all right, well, thank you again.
Thank
And
you.
I've not boy, who knows? Maybe I'll treat myself to a trip to London. Wouldn't that
That'd be
be
fun.
something? So, give my best. I've not met Brian, but give my best to him. And
I
thank
will
you
do so.
again. All right.
Okay,
Take
great.
care. Our thanks go out to our media sponsor, Urban Times. Urban Times is a monthly news magazine which serves as the official newsletter for 15 Indianapolis neighborhoods, offering news about development, arts and entertainment, and from the business community. Thank you for joining me on the aisle. Please subscribe to my podcast, and if you want to hear previous episodes, find them on the All Indiana Podcast Network, or listen to them wherever you get your podcasts. This is Tom Alvarez.
Who will take center stage on the podcast next? Your seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez awaits. Follow Tom on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and make sure to visit tomalvarez.studio. Watch Tom every other Thursday on Lifestyle Live on Wish TV, and make sure to listen every week here on the All Indiana Podcast Network.